Okay, just wanted to film a quick video because I haven't uploaded to my YouTube channel in a while because my Jeep has been kind of broken down, so where I really can't drive it very far. So mainly I've just been doing hikes around where I live in Carson City, and those are all hikes I've done before and even filmed before, so there really hasn't been anything worth putting on. So I thought maybe I'd do a video of the story of my backpack, which is kind of interesting. So I bought this backpack at REI. I actually just wrote the date on there. On November 20th, 2001. And you can almost read the date on the receipt, but it's fading. That's why I wrote it on there. And then I paid $80 for it back in the day. And originally it was $110, but I waited so long to buy it, they finally marked it down. And that was actually, when I went in there to buy it, I found out it was marked down. And I was like, oh, well, that settles it, because I actually had like 3 or 4, 5 different backpacks I was planning on getting, and I just wasn't sure which one I was going to get. And I ended up going with the Kelty because it was a little cheaper. Some of the other ones, higher end ones like Arc'teryx and stuff, were just too expensive. And this one actually had a lot of features that at the time, 17 years ago, were pretty cutting edge. So one of the biggest features for me initially was this was one of the only day packs that actually had a built-in rain fly. And now that I live in the desert, this zipper is actually completely plugged up and doesn't even open. I could probably wash out the zipper a little bit and I'd be able to get to the rain fly. But when I lived in Alaska and Washington, that came in really handy because it rained all the time. Now I live in the desert and it literally rained for like 3 hours all summer. That's not even an exaggeration. So haven't used the rain fly that much. But the other really cool feature that this had, and at the time I think there was maybe 5 or 6 other backpacks that had this, were pockets on the hip belt. So you could put granola bars, your car keys, or like right now I have a pocket knife in there. So it just enabled you to be able to get stuff out of there without having to take your backpack off. So it was really nice. The other thing that it had that was pretty cutting edge at the time was it actually has a thing, can't remember where it's at, but oh, there it is, for a Camelback filter thing to go through. And at the time, Camelbacks were relatively new, and not a lot of backpacks had it, and this did. Another cool feature it had, and some of these, like, they're common now, like all backpacks had them, but back then they didn't. This was a waterproof pouch that you could put your wallet in, or, you know, money or whatever, and it kept it separate so it didn't fall to the bottom of the pack. And so it was easy to get to. It was waterproof. Even if you got rained on with the rain fly and everything, it's not going to get wet. And then it did have the place to put a Camelback in here. And so all these features just added up, and I was like, I gotta get this pack. It's a really nice pack. And it's Kelty. Kelty makes good products for relatively cheap. And also this one was a Whitney, which is named after the highest peak in the lower 48 states in California. Actually only about 300 miles where I'm at right now. I've never actually been up Whitney, but I have been to the trailhead. I just didn't hike it, I didn't have a permit. But this one is 1900 cubic inches, which makes for a good extended day pack. And it's a little big for some people, but I'm 6'2", so like it was perfect for me. It's a little big, but I can carry the weight. And it also had these mesh side pockets for water bottles, which a little less than half of the packs back then had these. So that was another selling point for me, but not as much. Most of the higher end packs had them. But it was just another thing where I was like, hell yeah, this thing's got it all. It was perfect, and it's been the perfect backpack all these years. It's got a little bit of tree sap on there, but these last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I kind of have wished that I had a better backpack now, because it doesn't have a very good like suspension system on the back, and to keep like airflow through there, so my back is really sweaty. And a lot of the newer packs have stuff that mitigates that. So, you know, I've thought about upgrading, but I've had this thing for so long, and it really has kind of become a mess. But I even have a album on my Facebook page called My Trusty Backpack. And you can see it's got pictures of my backpack in Colorado, Southern California, in the deserts, Washington, Silver Falls, Mount St. Helens, Smith Rock. It's literally been everywhere. And you see here, this was in the sequoias. There was a big leaf maple, and I wanted to get a picture of it with the backpack, and that's initially what I used the backpack for. This was also another like really early picture I took of a big leaf maple tree put over my backpack. But we'll see. So this was like the original purpose for how my backpack and this album kind of came to be. I was in the Quinault rainforest in Washington, and I needed to show how big the trees were, because I kept taking pictures. I was like, there's nothing for scale. Like, they just look like trees. You can tell they're kind of big, but you don't know how big. And at the time, I didn't have, you know, really a way to set the timer, and I didn't want to take a selfie. And even then, back in those days, like, I couldn't have gotten the whole tree with a selfie anyway. I'd have been standing too close. And I hike alone most of the time, like 95% of the time. So I was like, what can I do? I could put like a rock by it, but then I'm like, there's no scale for the rock. So I thought, well, I could take my shoe off, because I'm 6'2", I wear a size 12 shoe, and I could use the shoe and say that's a foot long, so you can imagine how big this tree is. But then I didn't want to get dirt all over my socks and, you know, pine needles and burrs. So I was like, what can I use? I was like, oh, my backpack. I'll just throw that in there and use that for scale. And so I took the picture and I posted it on Facebook, and people thought it was just funny and awesome. Like, oh my God. And I started doing that for various other things, you know, kind of just to prove I was there. Like, here's an albino redwood in California. That's like one of the rarest trees in the world. So I was like, how can I prove that I was actually here? So I was like, well, throw my backpack in there. That'll prove it. And like I said, it just took off. People thought it was funny, and they started to demand it. If I didn't take backpack pictures, like, where's your backpack? How come you didn't take any pictures of your backpack? I was like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like got a life of its own now. And there's a picture of me actually with the backpack, one of the few times that I was hiking with somebody. And in this case, they were taking the picture and they're like, hey, you should grab your backpack. And I was like, oh yeah, like I didn't even think of that. So yeah, it kind of took off. Now this photo album has, I think, 68 likes and 25 comments. So it's one of the more popular things that I came up with, and complete accident. Like, it wasn't ever intentional, wasn't something I really meant to do. But the backpack has become my mascot, and it's been with me on almost every hike I've done. There's been a couple of hikes where I didn't take a backpack, and there's a couple of hikes where I took a different backpack, a larger overnighter, but like 99% of the time, this is what I took with me. So yeah, that's the story of the Trusty Backpack and how it came to be, and when and why I bought it. So hopefully some of you found it at least somewhat interesting. I know, you know, some people have asked me over the years, like, there are people that don't get it, and like, what's the deal with all your backpack pictures? Like, I don't get it. And then you said some people thought it was awesome and hilarious. So figured for the people that don't understand, there's your explanation, and for the people that wanted to know more, well, there, now you know the story. So hope you enjoyed it. Signing off. Bye.